Rosters are out for the 2023 Future Game. Who's going to be representing the National League and the American League in Seattle? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On MLB Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in to Locked On MLB Prospects, your home for all things minor league baseball. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, freelance baseball writer and podcaster. Thank you for making this your first listen every single day. We're probably part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I want this to be your show. If you have questions, show ideas, anything like that for us, tons of way to get in touch. Check the episode description, check the show links. But subtext, probably the best way. It's our community of folks that chat back and forth with me, send in questions, things like that. Links in the episode description. So the Futures Game is coming up this Saturday, and they announced the teams last week, but wanted to take a second to kind of look to see who's representing the National League and who's representing the American League, and then who has the better roster. So looking at the National League, there's 9 pitchers on the team, and there's some very interesting and talented choices here. So, for the pitchers, first guy you have, right-hand pitcher Mick Abel of the Philadelphia Phillies. Something where, obviously, very good player, top 100 prospect. Kind of some of the thought there was Andrew Painter would be a good candidate if he was healthy. Although he may have gotten too much time in the majors this year to be eligible for the Futures Game. Kind of the same issue you have with Taj Bradley, with Yuri Perez, things like that. So Mick Abel makes it for the Philadelphia Phillies. Not the only Philly on the list. Kyle Harrison of the San Francisco Giants is one of 2 Giants lefties on the list. Kyle Harrison's been in mostly AAA this year, striking out a ton of dudes. Now, he's plenty of walks. I want to say it's like 7 walks per 9 to almost 15 strikeouts per 9. So lots of walks, stuff to work on still, but one of the best left-handed pitching prospects in baseball. He's on there. So is Carson Whisenhunt, draftee from last year out of East Carolina, who didn't get to pitch last season in college because he was suspended. So they threw him some last year after the draft, sent him to the AFL, and now he is on a full season of work now. Has looked really good in the lower minors, has Carson Whisenhunt. Tink Hintz of the St. Louis Cardinals is a representative for them. Very, very good athleticism for Tink Hintz. Fastball sits upper 90s. Has a good curveball changeup as well. I haven't been impressed with a ton of the Cardinals pitching prospects. It feels like the ceiling is not super high on many of these guys. I think the highest ceiling of any of them could be Tink Hintz. Now, that being said, he's only thrown, I think, 10 games in high A this year. ERA is around 2.25, striking out around 9.5 batters per 9 innings. I kind of wish he had more strikeouts for the level he's been playing in. But Tink Hintz for the St. Louis Cardinals. J.P. Massey of the Pittsburgh Pirates, right-handed pitcher. Jacob Misiorowski of the Milwaukee Brewers. These guys, right-handed pitchers. I do love the length of Misiorowski. I mean, he's got big fastball, helps with the extension, cutter, a sweeper, things like that. I think he's like 6'7", and he spent time in both single A and high A this year. When you look at Massey, 7th rounder last year, another single A to high A guy, gets tons of strikeouts. I don't feel like the swing and miss stuff is that amazing yet. He's making it work off of pitchability, location, things like that, but there's plenty of room for projection. He can get bigger, he can get faster, he can get stronger. The stuff can get better. Patrick Monteverdi of the Miami Marlins, Spencer Schwellenbach of the Atlanta Braves. 2 guys that if you asked me preseason, I wouldn't necessarily have thought they would be Futures Game participants. Monteverdi's the oldest guy there, was an 8th rounder in 2021. It's something where velocity is not anything that blows you away. He's been in low A, striking out just over 10 guys per 9 innings, fastball, cutter, changeup, curveball kind of thing. Schwellenbach, another 2021 draftee. This one in the second round out of Nebraska, was a two-way player. Atlanta's had him just as a pitcher, and now that he's done with recovering from his Tommy John, he's having a good year this year, mid to upper 90s in single A. Looks like to be a guy. Mike Vasile for the New York Mets, one of the breakout pitchers in that system for the Mets, will be there as well, and so that's the list of pitchers. I like that. Looking at the infielders, really interesting here kind of how this broke down. Second baseman Ryan Bliss of the Arizona Diamondbacks is the only true second baseman on this list, but you have a couple other guys who can play second base. You do have lots of shortstops, as you always see in these kind of things. Shortstop Jordan Lawler of the Arizona Diamondbacks joining Bliss. Noelvi Marte, the Cincinnati Reds, can play third base, second base, shortstop, can play all of those. Jackson Merrill of the San Diego Padres, I'm pretty confident could play second, third, and short as well. You do have some true third basemen here. Brady House of the Washington Nationals. You have B.J. Murray of the Chicago Cubs. Murray's a corner infield guy. And looking at this list, he's probably going to get plenty of run at first base. House may get a little bit, but I feel like Murray's going to be one of your go-tos at first base, along with Indy Rodriguez of the Pittsburgh Pirates, who is listed as an infielder on here despite technically being a catcher. Really interesting there. Nasim Nunez of the Miami Marlins, infielder, can play just about anywhere. I do feel he's best at second, but another infield piece. Going to be interesting to see who plays first base in the 7-inning game. Outfielders on this team, Jackson Chourio, Milwaukee Brewers. We all know who he is, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. Justin Crawford of the Philadelphia Phillies. There's your other Phillies player on this. Pete Crow Armstrong, Chicago Cubs, best defensive outfielder in baseball. Will definitely spend plenty of time in center. Yanquiel Fernandez of the Colorado Rockies. Probably going to have to play a corner in this one. Victor Scott of the St. Louis Cardinals. Incredibly fast. Again, probably looking at a center field thing here. May have to play some corner. And James Wood of the Washington Nationals. Your catchers, Jefferson Cuero of the Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, Milwaukee's going to have a catcher in here. They have that catcher devil magic that they do in that system. And Dalton Rushing of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who can play catcher or first base. So if you have Indy Rodriguez catch some, Rushing can play some first base. In just a minute, we're going to get to the American League team and going over the list of who made it for the American League. And then we'll talk about which roster is better at each position. We'll do that next right here on Locked On MLB Prospects. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting on everything from the money line, the over-under, to whoever you think is going to get the first home run. They actually have some pretty interesting new player award parlays that pertain to what we do. Corbin Carroll to win NL Rookie of the Year and Zach Gallen to win NL Cy Young is plus 290. We know that in the National League, Corbin Carroll is the favorite for Rookie of the Year. He's at minus 600. Ellie De La Cruz is right behind him at plus 650. After that, it's plus 3,000 or farther. But this is a new Rookie of the Year and his teammate Zach Gallen winning Cy Young, plus 290 odds on that one. In the American League, your Rookie of the Year race, Josh Young plus 175, Matsutake Yoshida plus 280, Gunnar Henderson plus 360, Hunter Brown plus 700. After that, it's a lot of really long shots, 3,000 and more. So sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. Okay, so looking at the roster for the American League Futures game, it's just, I'm not as impressed with a lot of this talent, but looking at the pitchers, right-hand pitcher Clayton Beeter of the New York Yankees, he was the guy they acquired from the Dodgers for Joey Gallo. And He was with Tulsa last year. That AA Tulsa rotation has been amazing this year. But between AA and AAA with the Yankees, his ERA is under 2.5. He's got over 11 strikeouts per nine. The walks are still kind of there, 4.5 walks per nine or so, but has had a renaissance and is one of the better pitching prospects for the Yankees. So depending on what happens at the deadline, they may move him. It's that fastball slider kind of thing if he can harness the command. Right-hand pitcher Jonathan Cannon of the Chicago White Sox. Drafted him out of the University of Georgia. Something where, yes, he's been playing lower levels in the minors, but still a very good pitcher. Excited to see what he does here. Left-hand pitcher Joey Cantillo with the Cleveland Guardians. Talked about him just yesterday in the Monday mailbag. Something just really kind of struggled to stay healthy last year. Has looked good, 13 games between AA and AAA. 11 of those have been starts. The walks are a little bit high, but it's a really unusual delivery, and he's got good velocity on the fastball with a really good changeup to go along with it. And then 2 different breaking pitches that move in different ways. So a lot of different ways to attack you. It's all about harnessing the control, which hasn't been great in AAA. Shane Drohan of the Boston Red Sox. Lefty, we haven't really talked about on this show. AA, AAA this year. Striking out less than 9 guys per 9 innings. So kind of surprising, but one of those guys where he's a pitchability lefty. Fastball's in the low 90s, has a plus changeup, below batting averages, especially to righties. He does really well against righties. And so something where the ceiling isn't as high on that pitchability lefty kind of guy, but he's one of the better ones, or he's been one of the better ones in the minors this year. David Festa of the Minnesota Twins made the team as well. So did Will Klein, right-hand pitcher for the Kansas City Royals. Klein's a reliever, and so something where fastball can hit, I think it can hit 101, 102 miles an hour. Curveball, slider are fine, but he's just there to throw gas. It's tons of fun to watch. For David Festa, went right past him. Stuff has gotten better this year. The conventional stats aren't amazing. ERA over 5 in AA, but striking out almost 30% of batters he faces. Fastball sits in the upper 90s, definitely a weapon. Has a changeup, has a slider. Tons of fun to watch David Festa. Simra Bursi of the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm probably saying that wrong. He's out of the Netherlands, and so I guarantee you I'm pronouncing that name incorrectly. But in AA is striking out just under 9 guys per 9 innings, walking under 3.5. Has looked pretty good this year. It's a really interesting path for him because, again, coming out of the Netherlands, not a huge baseball hotbed, so he's been adjusting to professional baseball. Owen White, only guy in, I think, this entire game that's already debuted in MLB this year. He was called up, but is back in the minors. He throws 6 different pitches. So the whole thing here, ERA is around 3.5 or so between AA and AAA. He's only striking out just under 8 guys per 9 innings, but he's getting tons of ground ball contact, tons of weak contact, and you're not really able to get a lot of stuff off of him. Another guy where the ceiling isn't as high, but the floor is pretty decent because he specializes in not letting guys barrel stuff up. And then Yosevir Zulueta of the Toronto Blue Jays, the righty. His stuff is amazing. The issue has been he's got to throw strikes. He's ended up being a reliever this year. Thrown 37 in the third innings, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. The stuff is great. 7.5 walks per 9 innings. The control of that stuff hasn't necessarily been great, but could absolutely be a high leverage reliever, is a candidate to be a closer one day if he can bring down the walks. Looking at the infield of the American League Futures Game team, Junior Caminero of the Tampa Bay Rays has been one of the hottest prospects this season, if not the absolute hottest. He has the best 90th percentile exit velo in Tampa's system. He was playing mostly third base last year. He's been playing both third base and shortstop. He's in Double-A right now, so he is in the Southern League with those weird baseballs. But despite that, he's still absolutely killing it, and he's going to be a left side of the infield guy for you, not only in the Futures game, but going forward for the Rays when they can finally get him up to Tampa. He is joined by the only true first baseman on either roster, Kyle Manzardo. He was just destroying baseball last year. He's in AAA this year. He has looked, I'm not going to say ordinary, but he has looked, it's been a little bit more reasonable numbers, less video game numbers for Kyle Manzardo. He's also been dealing with some personal stuff, so I believe it's the health of his mother. So best wishes to him. Very exciting. The hit tool is phenomenal for Kyle Manzardo. So the floor is very high. It's just a question of when do they get him up into Tampa, because in case you haven't noticed, Yandy Diaz is kind of having a breakout year in Tampa Bay. Shortstop, couple good options on this team. Jackson Holliday of the Baltimore Orioles, one of the best prospects in all of baseball. I believe MLB Pipeline's the one that had him number one in their June re-rates, but very, very good shortstop. Obviously just played a little bit of third base the other day to kind of build some versatility. So true shortstop there. You also have Marcelo Meyer of the Boston Red Sox. We talked about him and how he's a little bit divisive as far as the ultimate ceiling, but everybody believes that he is a top prospect in all of baseball. He's been in both high A and Double-A. A lot of his power is kind of pull side, but he can hit a ball to every single field. Moves really well despite the top end speed not being great, but ultimately looks like he's going to be a starting shortstop in the major leagues, kind of consensus top 10, top 15 prospect. You have a couple guys who are not going to say pigeonholed as second baseman, but are best as second baseman. Nick York of the Boston Red Sox, and then Kyron Paris of the Los Angeles Angels. Paris has actually played a lot around the diamond recently. I mean, he's in a lot of stuff, different positions. He's already at the midpoint of the season, and he's in Double-A with the tacky baseball, so it's pitcher friendly, not only with the parks, but also with the ball. He has still hit a career high 11 home runs, and he has 20 stolen bases. His max last year was 11 home runs and 33 stolen bases. So he's on pace to pass both of those despite being at a higher level. Does have some swing and miss issues, strikes at around 30% of the time, but looks to be a very useful utility profile for the Angels, can play a lot of different stuff. And then some third basemen, Colt Keith and Justin Henry Malloy. Colt Keith of the Detroit Tigers, third base, second base kind of guy. Justin Henry Malloy they acquired him via trade from the Atlanta Braves. He's a third base and a corner outfield type. For their outfielders, 5 really interesting guys. Lawrence Butler of the Oakland A's, Jonathan Clase of the Seattle Mariners, who has been shooting up boards, has a little bit of work to do as far as the swing and miss in his game, but very exciting. Drew Gilbert of the Houston Astros. We've talked about Drew Gilbert at length before, including with our friends from Locked On Astros. Very exciting young player. Spencer Jones of the New York Yankees, one of the most watched prospects in the minors, I would say, 6'7", so he gets the comparisons to Aaron Judge, can play some center field, has crushed balls this year. Only has 10 home runs, but has I think it's 13 hits over 110 miles an hour in high A. Also has too many strikeouts. Struck out 33% of the time, but it's been getting better every single month. So you can see the improvement, and they're probably looking at a move to Double-A later in the season. And then Heston Kierstad of the Baltimore Orioles is completely back from missing 2021 due to myocarditis. Has tons of power, has hit in Double-A and Triple-A. The averages have been good. He's not striking out a ton. And it's something where it's just another amazing outfielder the Orioles have to find a way to fit onto that major league roster, just like Colton Cowser. For your catchers, 3 guys here. Harry Ford of the Seattle Mariners. We saw him get tons of run at the WBC as the starting catcher for Team Great Britain. You've got Edgar Cuero of the Los Angeles Angels, probably going to be asked for at the trade deadline. We've seen Logan O'Hoppe look like he can make it work at the major league level. And so Edgar Cuero might be seen as expendable to other teams who are looking to make a deal with the Angels as they try to capitalize on the final guaranteed year of control of Shohei Ohtani and make the postseason. And then Tyler Soderstrom of the Oakland A's, who is both catching and playing first base. So you do have technically 1.5 or 2 first basemen on the American League team, whereas you have none on the National League team. And in just a minute, we're going to go through these rosters, compare position to position, looking at pitchers, looking at catchers, infield and outfield, and figure out who we like the most, as well as how you can watch this thing. We'll do that next, right here on Locked on MLB Prospects. Yes, welcome back to Locked on MLB Prospects, your home for all things minor league baseball. Tons of fun stuff coming up this week. Our mock draft is finally coming out. We've got an MLB draft primer, news and notes, and then join us on Sunday night for our live MLB draft show. We're going live about an hour into the draft. It'll be about an hour long. We're going to catch up to where the draft is. We'll cover the last couple picks live. So tons of fun. Stick around for that. Looking at these pitching staffs for the Futures game, the National League and the American League, I think I like the National League pitching staffs better. It feels like the American League staff, maybe more so than the National League staff. The American League staff has been hurt by 2 things, and one has been some of the top prospects graduating and not being available. Thinking about like a Taj Bradley, thinking about some of Seattle's guys they've called up. But then as well, I feel like the American League just has more guys that are those pitchability lower floor guy or lower ceiling guys than what you have in the National League. The National League has some studs. I mean, Kyle Harrison has great stuff. Mick Abel has great stuff. Carson Wisenhunt looks like he has very good stuff. Tink Hintz, again, we don't love Seattle's pitching St. Louis's pitching prospects for the most part, but Tink Hintz has really good stuff. And so if I'm choosing between the National League and the American League pitching staffs, I like the National League. When you look at the catchers for these 2 teams, they technically both have 2.5 because the National League has Dalton Rushing of the Dodgers and Jefferson Cuero of the Brewers. And then they have Endy Rodriguez, who is listed as an infielder, but can play first base, second base, and left field in addition to catching for the Pirates. He's mostly catching right now, especially since Henry Davis is in the bigs. But 2.5 in essence, because they're listing him as an infielder. And then on the American League roster, Harry Ford, Edgar Cuero, full-time catchers, and then Tyler Soderstrom, who's played as much at first base as he has played at catcher. Ultimately, I think I like the American League catchers better. And it's really, I like the offensive ceiling of Tyler Soderstrom and then Edgar Cuero as well. I think that the offense is better in the American League side versus the National League side, even if Soderstrom is playing some first base, although you do have an actual first baseman on the American League team. Let's go ahead and look at the infield. American League team, you can see where everybody would play. Kyle Manzardo and Soderstrom are probably at first base. You've got second baseman in Kyron Paris and Nick York. You've got shortstops in Holiday and Marcelo Meyer. You've got third base with Colt Keith, Justin Henry Malloy, and then Caminero can play second, short, third, and has experience at all of those. So you've got a couple different options there, well-rounded infield. When you look at the National League, I do like the talent here better. It's just not as well-rounded. You have some second baseman, Ryan Bliss. Endy Rodriguez is going to be second base or first base if he's not catching. Nasim Nunez is really more of a second baseman. BJ Murray is a true third baseman, so is Brady House, and one of those 2 guys, probably Murray, is going to be playing first base along with Endy Rodriguez because you don't really have any true first baseman on this team. And then you've got 3 shortstops, and I think these shortstops, the 3 of them together, probably give you more versatility and as a whole are a little bit more talented than your American League shortstops, despite the fact that the American League does have Jackson Holliday. You've got Jordan Lawler, Noelvi Marte, Jackson Merrill. Some higher level experience than what you have on the other side. So I like the offensive ceiling. I like the defensive ceiling. I like the versatility here. Going to go with the National League infielders, despite not having a true first baseman on the team. Looking at the outfielders, it's really hard not to pick the National League. When you look at the American League, Lawrence Butler, probably a corner guy and some first base, so that does help with that issue. Or it would if the American League needed it. They don't. Jonathan Clace, really high ceiling guy, like him a lot. Spencer Jones can play center field. Drew Gilbert is a natural center fielder. Heston Kierstad, corner guy, power threat. It's a well-rounded group. But the National League outfield, holy cow. Jackson Chourio is a top 3 prospect in baseball. Pete Crow Armstrong is the best defensive center fielder in all of baseball. Justin Crawford and Yankel Fernandez have both been on our prospect team of the week for being incredibly hot this year. James Wood, center fielder, can stick in center field, but either way, massive power. Is probably going to have to play some corner stuff in this game. And then Victor Scott of the St. Louis Cardinals. You have good outfielders in the National League. Good outfielders in the American League, but the National League guys are just so dynamic, and there's so much high-level talent in the National League team. So, pitching staff, I like the National League. Catcher, I like the American League. Infield and outfield, I like the National League. The game itself is Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern on MLB Network and on Peacock. The only thing I don't love about this is, one, MLB games are still being played, so this gets overshadowed a little bit. And then two, it's only 7 innings. It's not even a full 9-inning game. They shorten it down to 7 innings. Despite that, still tons of fun. We're definitely going to be watching it. Probably going to be live tweeting during it. We'll be all over the Discord talking about it, things like that. May not get the recap from it into a show because on Sunday is day 1 of the MLB draft and we are going live. So make sure to check that out. If you're on YouTube, turn on that notification button so you know when we go live on Sunday night during the draft. Going to be a fun rest of the week. Probably going to wrap it up with a lot of draft talk. Again, getting our mock draft out this week and things like that. But until then, remember, it's always a great time to pay a minor league.